Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think most of the questions on Libya have been asked, and I suspected that would be the case, but there's one other one that is a little bit sensitive, I think, but somebody has to say it. There have been several reports about the presence of al-Qaeda among the rebels, among those with whom we are associated. What are your thoughts about that?
Sir, as you can imagine, we're examining very closely the content, composition, the personalities, who are the leaders in these opposition forces. The intelligence that I'm receiving at this point makes me feel that the leadership that I'm seeing are responsible men and women who are struggling against Colonel Qaddafi. We have seen flickers in the intelligence of potential al-Qaeda, Hezbollah. We've seen different things, but at this point, I don't have detail sufficient to say that there's a significant al-Qaeda presence or any other terrorist presence in and among these folks. We'll continue to look at that very closely. It's part of doing due diligence as we move forward on any kind of relationship.
Yeah, I don't say this critically of you, of course, because you didn't make this decision, but wouldn't that have been a good idea to find out before we took some of the steps that we're taking?
Well, I think that from the moment this crisis has unfolded, I think there has been a great deal of intelligence applied to this, although General Ham, as the AFRICOM commander, would be in the best position to give you the detail on that.
Yeah, I was planning on talking to him. Let me carry on a little bit from what Senator Lieberman was saying. I was going to approach it from a little different perspective. Back in the 90s, and it was actually Jim Jones at that time, was talking about the reduction of our presence, our installations, our personnel in Western Europe. At that time, one of the reasons was with and this is particularly true in Germany, with a lot of the problems that were existing at that time with the environmental movement. They were somewhat restricted in what our capabilities were going to be in terms of how many hours we can train, how many days a week, after hours, and this type of thing. And that was one of the considerations at that time. I'd like to ask you, first of all, has that changed? And then secondly, I have another question to ask about our presence there.
I would say that in my 2 years, roughly, as the commander of EUCOM, I have not felt any restrictions on my ability to do the kind of training and maneuver in Germany or in any of the other countries. In fact, Germany hosts Grafenwehr and Hohenfels. I think you visited there, sir, our big training center there, probably a premier training facility. We brought 17,000 people there in the last year.
I think a lot of that was before you arrived.
I think it was, sir.
Because at that time, I actually went over to Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, Romania, some of these places where they were wanting us to come over, and they were willing to, give us 24/7 and also do a lot of the billeting and other things. And so I just wondered where that was now. Well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of criticism since the downgrade. I was shocked when I read your written testimony and found that it was down 80% from where it was in the 90s. I didn't realize that. Now, if that being the case, there's still some MILCON that is going on there, and I know a lot of people are critical of that, and there are some parochial reasons for that back here also. But with that being the case, could you talk about any kind of a consolidation that's taking place that is going to justify any MILCON and how that works in our current position?
Sir, we are doing a great deal of continuing search for these efficiencies, and we are consolidating our footprint and have been doing so over the last 5 years. In fact, I'm testifying in front of the MILCON subcommittee, and we'll have a chance to lay that out. But I think we have a reasonable plan that strikes a balance between what we need to do to support our families in Europe, as well as maintain the headquarters that's undertaking the operations we're seeing today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because and I'm sure you will get asked a lot of questions about that when you are before the Appropriations Subcommittee. These partnership programs with states, there's some, 20, I guess, going on right now. I know that my state of Oklahoma has Azerbaijan. And they have all kinds of good reports, but I'm wondering how you see it when you're overviewing, looking at the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is it time, resources well spent with our Guard activities?
Sir, it is. We have 22 of these programs around. The one from Oklahoma, for example, does everything from prosaic military training to police training to oil field training. I mean, we try to match up the state with the country. And I think the presence, for example, of the Oklahoma State Partnership Program has been very helpful in Azerbaijan in maintaining our access through our transit routes because of the strong mill-to-mill relationship. Multiply that by 22 all around Europe, and you can see the bang for the buck here is really quite significant.
Well, that's good. That's what I'm getting from our people there, and so I assume that was the case. I just came back from spending some time with in Israel and talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu for some length. And his first comment was, "Welcome to the earthquake," when we got over there. And when you stop and think about it, everywhere over there, I mean, we've been talking about Libya, but you've got Iran, you've got Syria, you've got Egypt. And so it is, you know, we have that only one great friend there. Do you think we're doing enough to ensure the defense of Israel? Any comments you can make on that?
I had the same conversation a week ago with Lieutenant General Benny Gantz, who is the Chief of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, if you will, of Israel. We talked all around the region. I think Israel is watching very closely these events on their periphery, as they should be. Part of our job is to reassure them and continue to engage with them. And from U.S. European Command, we're doing that across everything from missile defense to weapons systems to training to intelligence exchange. It's a good time for all of us to recognize exactly what you said, that Israel is in the middle of an earthquake zone. And we're, from a military-to-military perspective, working very closely with them.
Well, I was going to get into a couple other programs that I know you're enthusiastically supporting and have in the past, like the train and equip programs, the SERP and CCIF. But let me just mention, if there's not time to answer this, General, my concern has been back when we took out the plans for our ground-based interceptor in Poland with the necessary radar in the Czech Republic, that by the time we would receive the same capability, we are looking at a program that is really not, there's not anything definite in terms of when it will come along. And now what I'm talking about is the SM-3 Block 2B, the long-range program. Right now, we don't have a date. It's still a concept, so to say. My feeling is that the others, like the Block 2A and other programs, are good. They're coming along. We have the Aegis capability and all of that. But for the record, since my time has expired, I'd like to have you share with me whether you share my concern over the fact that we would have had, in my opinion, that capability much sooner. And when our intelligence gives us a range that that Iran is going to have this capability that we all dread thinking about, somewhere between 2015 and 2020, to me, that's what keeps me up at night. So if you could, for the record, get into as much detail on that as possible, I would appreciate it.
Sir, I'll provide that for the record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Inhofe. Senator Reed.